Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today, I bring you a dramatic and emotional story about Ly Hoai Ca, a brave yet kind-hearted young woman. As many of you know, Hoai Ca once courageously saved a helpless girl from two thugs with bad intentions. But that very act of heroism has now put her in danger. A few days later, those two men returned, seeking revenge and secretly following her everywhere. Late at night, Hoai Ca often felt strange eyes watching her from afar, a feeling that left her anxious and uneasy. Not wanting to worry her mother, she kept everything to herself until things became too much to bear. In the end, she decided to call Hùng, who was stationed over 100 kilometers away on duty, to ask for help. On the other end of the line, Hùng was deeply concerned and immediately arranged for some trusted friends nearby to protect her for the time being. Will Hùng be able to protect Hoai Ca from the danger lurking in the shadows? And will Hoai Ca have the strength to overcome this challenge on her own? Stay tuned until the end of today's video to find out what happens next. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss the next episode of Hoai Ca and Hùng story. Early the next morning, the sun had just begun to rise, and tiny droplets of dew still clung to the rows of lush green vegetables. The whole garden seemed half asleep, with only the distant crowing of roosters and the soft sound of water splashing in a wooden bucket. Hoai Ca draped a thin scarf over her shoulders, her hair neatly tied, sleeves rolled up. She stepped down into the garden, her small footprints pressing lightly into the damp soil. Her hands moved quickly, trimming and gathering each bunch of greens. The scent of fresh vegetables mingled with the earthy morning air, soothing the soul. She looked up just as the first sunlight touched the row of areca palms, casting a clear golden light across the garden. Her gentle voice broke the quiet of dawn. Better harvest early for the morning market. The vegetables are beautiful today. Before long, her bamboo basket was full of fresh, tender greens. She carefully arranged them and covered the top with a banana leaf to keep them from wilting. Wiping the sweat from her forehead, she smiled, a quiet, simple joy of someone long accustomed to rising before dawn. From inside the house, her mother's voice called out, "Don't forget to eat breakfast before you go to the market, dear." "Yes, I know, Mom," Hoai Ca replied warmly. The path to the market stretched along the rice fields, both sides lined with young green paddies swaying in the wind. The early breeze carried the scents of rice, soil, and kitchen smoke, that familiar fragrance of the countryside that tugs at the heart of anyone far from home. With the basket on her back, Hoai Ca walked steadily. The soft creak of the bamboo wove together with the chirping of morning birds and the distant calls of cattle from the village edge. Sometimes, she met familiar faces coming from the opposite direction, exchanging warm greetings. "Up so early again, Ca?" "Yes, the vegetables are fresh today. I want to catch the early crowd." By the time she reached the market at the village entrance, the air was already lively. Laughter, chatter, and the clinking of knives mixed with the aroma of green onions, dried fish, and cooking smoke filling the air. Hoai Ca set down her basket, spread a bamboo tray, and neatly arranged her vegetables. The greens, still glistening with dew, quickly drew attention. "Your vegetables look so fresh, girl," one woman praised. "They're from her garden, clean and safe," another chimed in. Hoai Ca just smiled and bowed slightly, her voice soft but full of pride. "They're homegrown, ma'am. No chemicals at all." The morning passed quickly. The last bunches were sold, and she gathered the leftovers to give to a few elderly neighbors. The sun was now high, its light glinting off the road still damp with dew. Carrying her empty basket, she strolled home. The white edge of her scarf fluttered in the breeze, her small figure slowly fading down the tree-lined village path. No one knew that. In the distance, behind the old banyan tree near the market, two strange men stood silently, their eyes fixed on her every step, with an expression impossible to read. The two thugs were still hiding behind the bamboo grove, their silhouettes shifting in and out of the shadows. They whispered to each other in low, raspy voices, their eyes glinting with hatred. "She humiliated us in front of everyone. She'll pay for that." Hearing their words, Hoai Ca closed her eyes for just a moment, not out of fear, but to gather her courage and plan her next move. She knew too well that panic would only make things worse. Her pace quickened slightly. She smiled and greeted familiar villagers along the way, pretending that everything was normal. The early sunlight slanted across the dirt path, painting thin golden lines on the ground. The creak of her bamboo basket followed her steady steps, blending with the chirping of morning birds. She softly hummed a familiar tune, her voice light as the morning mist. But with each step, the uneasy feeling grew stronger, a chill running down her spine, that instinctive tension of someone who has faced danger before. Behind her, a pair of footsteps followed, steady, deliberate. They weren't the steps of a passerby. They were too measured, the sound of someone keeping distance, waiting like a predator stalking its prey. Hoai Ca stopped briefly, pretending to adjust the strap of her basket, eyes flicking toward the roadside littered with dry leaves. In that instant, she saw them, two figures behind the bamboo fence. One tall, one thin, the way they stood, the tilt of their heads, unmistakable. It was the same pair from before. She wasn't afraid, but her heartbeat quickened. Instinct warned her that if she kept walking straight, they'd soon corner her on the deserted path by the rice fields. But this was her home ground. She knew every tree, every shortcut by heart. Taking a deep breath, she continued walking, feigning calm, but subtly shifting her pace, slowing down for a few steps, then suddenly turning down a narrow path leading into the dense bamboo grove behind old Mrs. Tubey's house. Few people ever noticed this path, overgrown, winding, but with a hidden exit that led out to a stream at the back. Sunlight filtered through the bamboo leaves, scattering golden flecks on the ground. The rustling of leaves sounded like whispers between trees. Hoai Ca moved quietly, crouching low, holding her basket close to keep it from making noise. Behind her, the thug's footsteps drew nearer, crunching on the soft soil. "She turned in here, right?" one growled. "She must be hiding nearby. When we catch her..." The other's voice trailed off, thick with malice. Hoai Ca didn't move. She pressed her back against a thick bamboo stalk, holding her breath. Sweat trickled down her temple, but her eyes stayed sharp, focused. The rustle of leaves, the chirping of crickets, and the whispering wind helped mask her faint breathing. The two men prowled closer, scanning through the bamboo. One kicked a clump of bushes, a dry crack echoed, and a flock of sparrows burst into the sky. "Nothing. Maybe she ran that way," one muttered. "Let's circle around." Their footsteps faded, voices swallowed by the wind. Only after a long while, when silence returned, did Hoai Ca slowly rise. Slivers of bamboo shadow fell across her face, the morning light catching the sheen of sweat on her cheek. She exhaled softly, loosened her shoulders, and tightened her grip on the basket. Instead of heading home, she took the opposite path, following the stream that curved around toward the road they had just left. Moving against the expected direction was the safest way. She knew they'd still be searching ahead, never guessing she had already slipped past them, like a breeze vanishing into the familiar bamboo grove. Crossing the damp embankment, she heard the soft murmur of the stream mingling with the whisper of the wind. Sunlight filtered through the bamboo, scattering over her clothes like glittering dust, gentle, yet beneath that glow was the quiet strength of a woman who refused to yield. She didn't look back. Her hand tightened on the strap of her basket. Each step grew lighter until the echoes of pursuit disappeared completely, leaving only the peaceful sounds of a countryside morning. The two thugs ran back and forth, searching frantically through every clump of bamboo, under every tree root, and along the edge of the stream. The midday sun blazed like fire, sweat dripping down their foreheads as the acrid smell of cigarettes mixed with the heavy, scorching air. "Lost her," one of them roared, jerking his head violently as if he could tear apart the thicket by force. His voice trembled, a mix of rage and frustration. The other clenched the brim of his hat, eyes wide, his clothes covered in dust. How the hell did that girl run off so fast? They spun around like predators who had lost their prey in the open field. Each time a hand slammed against the old wall nearby, a cloud of dust rose, golden motes swirling in the sunlight, settling into an eerie, suffocating silence. Only the sound of their harsh, labored breathing remained, pounding like angry drums in the sweltering noon heat. "Just wait. I swear I'll catch her, and she'll pay for every bit of it," one growled, his words sharp and bitter like strong liquor thrown into the wind. The other sneered, narrowing his eyes as he scanned the ground for any forgotten trace. "Tomorrow night, or the next time she goes to the market. We'll get her then. Don't let her rest easy." By the time Hoai Ca reached the gate, the afternoon sun was already fading. A deep crimson sun hung low above the bamboo grove at the edge of the village, its last rays stretching across the dirt road, painting the mossy wall in shades of gold. Crickets chirped somewhere in the grass, blending with the faint smell of cooking smoke drifting from distant homes, that familiar, earthy scent of the countryside at dusk. She walked slowly across the yard, her sandals dusted with dirt, her breath still uneven after a tense morning. The bamboo basket on her back felt light now, yet her shoulders still carried the weight of unshaken fear. She set the basket down on the porch. Her hands trembled slightly. Sweat and dust clung in a thin layer around her collar. From inside the house, her mother, Mrs. Ha, was rinsing rice when she heard the sound and came out. She wore a faded brown blouse, her silver hair neatly tied at the back, her gentle eyes creasing in worry as she looked at her daughter. "You're back, my dear. What's wrong? You look so shaken." Her voice was calm but heavy with concern as she set down the basket of vegetables beside her. Hoai Ca lowered her head and sat down on the bamboo chair by the porch. The slanted sunlight filtered through the erica leaves, scattering golden specks on the wet brick floor. She gazed out at the yard, where a few chickens pecked at scattered rice, and quietly said, "Mother, I saw those two men again." Then she told everything, every small detail, her voice trembling but steady. From the moment she noticed their strange stares at the market, to when they followed her steps, and how she slipped into the dense bamboo grove to hide. Her voice faltered now and then, catching as the fear returned in memory. With each word, Mrs. Ha's face turned paler. Her grip on the basket tightened so hard that a few leaves fell to the ground unnoticed. "Oh dear heaven, those men dared come back? You were lucky to notice them in time." Just a second later, and she stopped mid-sentence, her voice trembling, eyes filled with both fear and pride. Then she reached for her daughter's hand, her wrinkled, warm hand trembling slightly. Hoai Ca lowered her gaze. "I was terrified, Mother. When I heard their footsteps behind me, my heart was pounding so hard it felt like it would burst. But if I tell Hung now, I'm afraid he'll worry. He's busy with a big case, and I don't want to distract him." For a moment, Mrs. Ha said nothing. The evening breeze drifted in through the yard, stirring the old curtain. The golden light of sunset fell gently across her face lined with age, but calm and full of quiet strength. She placed a hand on her daughter's shoulder, speaking softly yet firmly. My child, being strong doesn't mean hiding your fear. Women like us can endure much, but that doesn't mean we should bear everything alone. Some things need the help of those who know how to handle them. Hung's a police officer. You should tell him. He's not just the man who loves you, he's someone who can protect you from danger. Hoai Ca fell silent. Outside, the wind rustled through the areca palms, whispering among the leaves. From the kitchen came the soft whistle of the boiling kettle, the scent of tea drifting gently through the air. The small house grew still, just two women sitting side by side, wrapped in quiet worry and the tender warmth of family. After a long pause, Hoai Ca finally spoke, her voice small and steady. I understand, Mother. I'll call him. I just don't want him to worry too much about me. Mrs. Haas smiled kindly, gently patting her daughter's back. Silly girl. Love isn't just about sharing joy. Sometimes it's about sharing fear too. If you keep it all to yourself, he'll only feel shut out and worry even more. Tears welled in Hoai Ca's eyes as she nodded. She leaned her head on her mother's shoulder, breathing in the familiar scent of wood smoke on her brown blouse. The last light of day slipped through the roof, falling softly on their clasped hands. Outside, the late summer cicadas buzzed through the garden, signaling the end of the day. Hoai Ca exhaled, a little of her fear melting away. But in her eyes lingered a trace of quiet unease. As if somewhere beyond the fading light, the shadows were still waiting for their chance to return. Night slowly descended over the old tiled roof. The wind drifted through the areca palms by the gate, carrying the faint scent of grapefruit blossoms and the steady hum of crickets from the garden. Inside the small house, the oil lamp cast a soft golden glow, illuminating two figures, a mother and her daughter, sitting quietly side by side. Hoai Ca held her phone for a long time, but still hadn't pressed the number. Her finger hovered above the screen, hesitating, as if speaking out loud would make the situation heavier. Beside her, Mrs. Ha gently urged, Go on, call him. He'll be relieved to know you're safe. Taking a deep breath, Hoai Ca finally pressed the button. The long, rhythmic tone echoed in the silence, making her heartbeat quicken. Then came Hung's voice, calm and deep, but laced with the weariness of a man still on duty. I'm here, Hoai Ca. Are you all right? Her reply was soft, almost a whisper. On. I think someone's been following me. I'm pretty sure it's the same two men from before, but I managed to lose them. I'm home now with Mom. There was a short pause on the other end. Only the sound of Hung's steady breathing, slow and heavy. Say that again. They followed you? Yes. I didn't see them clearly, but I'm sure it was them. His tone dropped lower, calm, but strained with concern. Listen to me carefully. Don't take this lightly. Lock the doors, don't go out after dark, and keep the lights on around the yard. I'll call a few friends from my old unit, they're stationed near your area, and ask them to keep an eye out. Make sure you're safe for now. Hoai Ca bit her lip lightly, murmuring, Don't worry too much. I'm fine, really. Hung sighed quietly, his voice deep and tender. If I don't worry for you, then who will? A long silence followed between them. Only the wind could be heard outside, along with the soft patter of rain beginning to fall on the eaves. Then Hung spoke again, firm but gentle. Don't be afraid. I'll take care of it. I won't let anything happen to you. I've handled cases like this before, I know what to do. Just promise me you won't leave the house alone, all right? Yes. I promise, Hoai Ca said, her eyes glistening. Somewhere deep in her chest, warmth spread, as though an unseen hand was shielding her from harm. When the call ended, she sat still, staring at the darkened phone screen in her hand. The soft yellow light from the lamp fell across her face, half bright, half shadowed, a mixture of relief, and lingering worry. Outside, the night wind rattled the window frame. Mrs. Ha poured her daughter a cup of hot tea, her voice as gentle as a lullaby. See? You feel better now that you've told him. Hoai Ca smiled faintly, placing a hand on her mother's shoulder. Yes. Hung said he's already asked someone to keep watch nearby. We'll be all right, Mom. The two sat together, watching the flickering lamp sway in the breeze. It seemed peaceful. Yet beyond the walls of that quiet home, something in the darkness was still moving unseen. A shadow that refused to leave the village. Still watching, still waiting for its chance. There are people who simply want to do what's right. To live a quiet, peaceful life among the simple things. But the world out there doesn't always let good people rest easy. In the calm silence of the countryside, shadows have begun to stir. Will Hung make it back in time to protect Hoai Ca before things spiral out of control? Will their kindness and courage be enough to face the danger drawing near? Stay tuned for the next episode tomorrow to see what happens when Hung secretly returns to the village and uncovers a much bigger scheme hidden behind what seemed like a small incident. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to support the story of Hoai Ca and Hung.
Xin chào tất cả mọi người đã quay trở lại với kênh của mình. Hôm nay mình tiếp tục đưa đến mọi người câu chuyện về mẹ đơn thân Ly Hoai Ca và cảnh sát Hùng. Mọi người thân mến, thì như ở tập trước mọi người cũng đã biết là Hùng và Hoài Ca đã Hùng đã giúp một cô gái bị kẻ xấu bắt nạt, bị hai tên côn đồ bắt nạt. Và trong tập này thì Hoài Ca bị hai tên côn đồ đó trả thù. Bây giờ thì mình đang đặt tên tiêu đề và mình vẫn chưa xác định được là mình sẽ đặt tên tiêu đề là gì. Cũng chưa biết sao đây mọi người ơi, không biết đặt tên tiêu đề là gì cho nó hay đây.